on to stage 5 for the Argentina-Chile Dakar for 2010, and we can now touch the Pacific. On 2 wheels, David Cousteau making up time. Impressive with the Sherco. He's got to go flat out today. Whilst on 4 wheels, the leader is in problems. How much time can Stefan Pederhansel save? Stage 4 took the Dakar over from Argentina and into Chile. Over the top of the Andes, over a pass of the same height as well, nearly half the height of a cruising jumbo jet. But once into Chile, as always, the fans were out to cheer on everybody, not just their own. It may well have only been a short stage of just over 160 kilometers, but it was a killer of a stage. Very difficult indeed. Some people said it was easy, other people said it was anything but. Whatever you do, don't stop. The bikes were roostering their mate, even though most of the privateers, well, they didn't have a mate to rooster. Look how pathetic these multi-million-dollar cars can look when they just get over the crest of a dune and come to a pretty pathetic halt. And as for the trucks, well, try and move 12 tons of that up there. It's got no chance. But it was a good day yesterday for Baldwin and Walsh. With their team Gordon Hummer, they had a good run through, whilst other people were lucky to get away with going over some of the broken dunes. Other people not so lucky. This truck in pretty fundamental problems. He says there are so many people out there on the stage, we just don't know where to pass them. The Toyotas were helping each other. Well, it's team camaraderie with the Chilean squads. But Hugo Payen with his BMW, he was rummaging through not just the book of how to screw it all back together, but really how to find the problem in the first place. With the 450. He says, over the last few days I've had all sorts of problems. Yesterday with the fuel pump, we changed it and then we changed the engine. And now it stopped several times. I don't know why. The pump is just not working. I just don't know. The trucks were already cruising past, and so was Bruce Garland. He's up to 19th in the overall standings, and fellow Aussie Rob Pollard from Perth, he was 35th on the stage yesterday. He's 51st overall.
Nós tivemos problema eletrônico, estávamos em terceiro na categoria.
He says we had an electrical problem. We were 3rd in the class, near the leaders, but the truck just stopped. We don't know what it is. We're looking for the problem, says this Brazilian. It looked such an easy stage, it was anything but. Oh, how close can you get to the top of a dune and not quite make it? That bowler going to be having to dig itself out. A successful day for the Argentines though, yesterday on the quads. Patronelli the younger being victorious. This guy saying the engine was very hot and when we emptied the air filter it was just full of fesh. And for once in these guys' lives they were happy to see a tractor in their way because it was going to pull them out. That Nissan in quite fundamental problems. Not as big a problem though for Philippe Gache and his co-driver. He says the dune was broken. I didn't think it was so broken, but I went over it too fast. The co-driver hurt his back, and that was that. The medical crews turned up and took him back to the bivouac and to safety. Stage 5 for the Dakar 2010. We move from Copiapo right down to the water's edge of the Pacific to Antofagasta. It's the second longest stage of the rally so far, 483 kilometers. Silver and copper mines are around this area, so who will strike it lucky? Stage 5, symptomatic of the area 12 months ago. Fog, 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 very chilly for the riders by the time they got to the start line of the Dakar's second longest stage of the rally. Cyril Dupre, David Cousteau, all taking time before the countdown, and then the off. It was Mark Comer who was off first on a big day. 3 climbs, and each climb approaching 3,000 meters in height. Now Comer was first on the roads, so he had to find his own way. He couldn't follow anybody else's marks. He had to just thread the needle. For others, it was, well, easier because they could follow, but harder because of the dust. At that hour in the morning, there's barely any wind at all. Once more, spectacular scenes on this Dakar rally. We're now into the heart of the Atacama Desert. But the race was on. Mark Comer continuing to try and get some time back after the 22 minutes of penalty and another 20 minutes of a disaster a couple of days ago when his hot engine, well, it wouldn't run, never mind even restart. So Comer, he knows that if he needs to ride at 100%, it's got to be now. That was exactly what he was doing, and by the time he got to the first refueling point, which is neutralized in time, by the way, to stop people rushing around, he says today is very difficult because it's hard to see. The navigation to find your way is very hard because I don't have a reference. It's very complicated, but well, I'm here, all is well. It's a long stage, and I'm going to take it easy. So Mark Comer, he went quickly, but then he had no option. He had a massive tyre problem, and Comer losing even more time. Now Comer is running on Pirelli tyres this year, as opposed to the Michelins of Dupre. I have problems with the mousse within the tyre, it's broken. I've now got to wait for my teammate to give me his wheel, so instead I think I'll take some sun. It's just not going to be my year. Comer eventually losing 39.5 minutes this afternoon. And in the end, it was Luca Manca who gave up his wheel. That's generosity, isn't it? Manca then eventually waited for Knoyman, who is Mark Comer's teammate, to come along, and they then swapped wheels. Therefore, the stage was falling into the hands of David Cousteau, but then he had problems. Cousteau, the winner of the very first stage of this year's Dakar, has crashed and he's out with a serious leg injury. He said, I was following in Chaleco's dust and there was something in the way. I went straight over the front of the bike, a proper rally raid fall. And my Dakar is now over. They're falling like flies here in 2010. We've never seen anything like this in Dakars before at such an early stage. So therefore, it was down to Cyril Dupre to try and, well, not only defend his lead, that was pretty well done and dusted with the demise of Cousteau today, but now Dupre has a pretty clear run at the front of the order. He's now got nearly 38 minutes worth of advantage in the overall standings. Do note that Dupre is the only one on Michelin's as opposed to the Pirellis of Coma. But it was Francisco Lopez at home in Chile, his second day on home turf, who was victorious on today's stage, and victorious for the very first time with the brand new Aprilia 450 on a Dakar stage. The Italians back home at their base in Nawali will be more than molto bene. Now, somebody similar to Coma, who's got a lot of time to make up after previous problems earlier on the rally, is David Frétigné on the number 12 Yamaha 450. Frétigné, he's had a good clean run today, only finishing 13 minutes behind Lopez. He may well be nearly 2 hours back in the overall standings, but he's 15th overall. He could still easily be top 8 by the time we get back to Buenos Aires. Place your bets, please. Ruben Faria, 4th today, 15 minutes back of Lopez. He should be pretty happy with that. Oliver Setta from Norway, he was ruining the heats into Fiambala 48 hours ago, but Oliver Setta was 5th today for Team Scandinavia. He's 5th in the overall standings. He's crept up without anybody really noticing. Helder Rodriguez, he's on the 450 as opposed to a restricted 690. Top 6 for him this afternoon. Now, what about Alain Duclos? As someone who has not ridden properly for 12 months, he's now 4th overall after this stage 5 of the 2010 Dakar. A round of applause for Alain Duclos. Here's Jonas Street. He's gone up a couple of places. He's back up to 6th in the overall standings. The man with the KTM from Team Pan Am coming out of Washington State. It'll be a bit cooler back there at this time of year. Now this is Mark Coma coming over to thank Italian Luca Manca for giving up his wheel for no other reason except just to be, well, sportsmanlike. Fair play to the Italian. Now then, let's have a look at the results today. Stage 5, victorious for Francisco Lopez at home in Chile. Dupre being beaten but only by a minute and a half. Frétigné, Faria and Olival Setta. Therefore, in the overall standings, it's Dupre ahead of Lopez by a very comfy 37 minutes. Rodriguez, Duclos and Olival Setta.
De estar en Chile, muy contento.
I'm very happy to be here in Chile, my country. That was quick stage, that. First I was with Casto, afterwards with Mark Coma, who had a problem with his tyre, and finally with Sil Dupre. It was quite a long stage. I had a few problems earlier in the rally in Argentina. I'm happy to win a stage here in Chile. Mark Coma saying, what are we going to do? I try to keep on the positive side of things, and I have no choice. Things are just falling that way for me this year. Mark is a great rider with very many qualities, and he's very professional, but it's a nightmare because we can't battle, we can't race equally. It's just the way motorsport is. Last year I played my part. We must pay attention to these difficult stones in the stage which can damage our tyres. It's quick stage though, you can easily destroy the moose. You've got to be prudent.
Sono fermato per aiutare Coma.
I helped Coma, who broke his tyre, and then I waited for Neumann, who then gave me his. It's my first Dakar. I will do others. I'm riding without a restrictor, so if I can save Mark, I'll do it.